for investing in their respective specific sectors. The roundtable discussions in this Business and Investment Forum, as we have heard, focused in specific 4 factors, that's agriculture, oil and gas, mining, and construction and infrastructure development. I'm certain that during the roundtable discussions, you have heard a lot about what Tanzania offers in terms of investment opportunities in these specific sectors. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, as I commend the organizers from both Tanzania and South Africa side for their initiatives to hold this event, I'm optimistic that this forum will immensely continue to promote the outstanding bilateral relations that exist between the two sides. Tanzania and South Africa share the goal of achieving economic prosperity and long-term growth. Therefore, this forum will serve as the benchmark of unleashing the potential of South African investment in Tanzania and vice versa, as well as a catalyst for South African investors' continued commitment to the country. I wish to reiterate that Tanzania and South Africa are historical and strong partners. My colleagues in the Ministry of Investment, Industry and Trade and myself are committed to continuing working with our counterpart in South Africa, as you have heard the commitment from my brother, and we are looking forward to more practical and positive engagement between us. And to let you know that we have agreed, and we were just discussing with my brother, the second meeting that we are to plan, the 2 ministries, we will have a business forum in Zanzibar, Tanzania. So this is something I just wanted to share with you. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, as I conclude my remarks, I would like to appreciate the good efforts made by organizers from both South Africa and Tanzania, including Trade and Invest South Africa, Tanzania Investment Center, TanTrade, Tanzania High Commission in South Africa High Commission in Tanzania, Tanzania Private Sector Foundation, and other stakeholders who have made this forum a success. Without them, we know it could have been difficult for us to organize this specific forum. So thank you so much for joining us and coming to this specific forum. And thank you, my dear brother, Honorable Minister Patel. I think we have concluded also, as you have said, we will be signing here a memorandum of understanding showing our commitment in helping our business communities between the 2 countries. Asanteni sana kwa kunisikiliza, and we are ready working with you for prosperity of our 2 countries. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you very, very much, my dear colleague and sister. I just wanted to invite my colleague to join us at the signing of a document. President, you may recall that you had instructed us in your remarks to the media earlier that you would like MOUs to be concluded by the end of 2023. That press conference was held 3 hours ago. There had been an MOU that we'd been working on. Typically, it would go through many processes. We know what bureaucracy is like in both countries. We decided we should take you literally, President. And we decided between my colleague and I, and working with the presidencies of both countries, and thank you, DG, for your support, that we will get this document done sooner than planned. Not December 2023, which was the planned signing, but today. So we have an MOU here. On industry and trade, it will focus on industrial cooperation between the two countries, trade cooperation, technical cooperation, the facilitation of investment, and it sets up a joint trade and investment committee that will bring together the two countries to address the challenges that investors face, but also to utilize the opportunities that await investors. So I will be joining my colleague now in signing this with the blessing of Minister Pandor, who has also been keen that we get more of these documents done. And so I hope that this indicates, President, Excellencies, we are taking the instruction very, very literally. Ladies and gentlemen, we're really now getting to the culmination, the main event of today. This has been an important opportunity for the business community to communicate to the two heads of state. And if I make a reflection, every president in South Africa has signature policies. President Ramaphosa, since the start of the administration, has made the pivot to African economic integration a key plank of the administration, of the government policies of the day, of the allocation of resources. The President has been an advocate of the African Continental Free Trade Area. During his chairship of the African Union, the agreement was finally reached that we would now implement the AFCFTA. He chaired the African Union during 2020, that COVID period that was such a challenging period for all of us. And in that time, President Ramaphosa became the African champion for COVID medication, for vaccines, for masks, for hand sanitizers, for all the diagnostics and therapeutics that were needed. and immobilize sentiment across the world to ensure not only that we get these products from elsewhere, but that we make these products here on the African continent, that we have the masks and we have the ventilators and we have the vaccines to save African lives. And through those efforts, ladies and gentlemen, I must advise that we now have production of vaccines here on the African continent. We have 2 of those facilities here in South Africa. We have 1 of the facilities in East Africa, and more of them are expanding. We are now producing many other things that has been catalyzed by the champion on COVID-19 readiness. And so it's a great pleasure for me to invite President Ramaphosa, who has put forward the vision of a reimagined Africa and a reimagined growth plan for Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming His Excellency, President Ramaphosa, to address us. President, the stage is yours.
Yes. Thank you. Let's be seated, please. Program Director, Minister Ibrahim Patel, Your Excellency, President Samia Hassan, President of the United Republic of Tanzania, High Commissioners of South Africa and Tanzania, Ministers and Deputy Ministers here present, representatives and leaders of business who are here with us today, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is my great pleasure to welcome President Hassan, her delegation and the business delegation from Tanzania to our country. I believe that there are some 84 business leaders and business people who have come from the United Republic of Tanzania. Let us as South Africans give them a good round of applause. Over the past 3 days, government representatives at senior official level and ministers as well have held discussions on political, diplomatic, defense, and security matters, as well as matters that they've discussed touching on culture and economic matters. Earlier today, President Hassan and myself co-chaired the second binational commission between our 2 countries. The discussions that we held were underpinned by warmth, by a very cordial atmosphere. They were also underpinned by the very good relations that exist between Tanzania and South Africa. We were able to find common ground on practical measures that we need as 2 countries to take to forge a new partnership aimed at enhancing and increasing our bilateral trade and investment relations. This partnership is founded and rooted on a friendship that stretches way back, decades and decades back, when the people of Tanzania stood alongside and behind the people of South Africa when we were involved in a titanic struggle. Alongside this trade is a significant value chain through which Tanzanian gold is refined in South Africa for sale to central banks and other customers around the world. This gold trade alone was worth around $880 million in 2021. South Africa is a major investor in Tanzania. Between 1997 and 2022, South African companies have invested in a total of 250 projects valued at $1 billion US. That too is a big figure. And this has helped to create more than 18,000 jobs in Tanzania. The projects cover sectors like agriculture, construction, real estate, telecommunications, financial services, transportation, manufacturing, mining, petroleum, tourism, energy, infrastructure, services, and broadcasting. So it's a wide spread of economic activity that is covered. There's still much scope for South Africa and Tanzania to strengthen cooperation in these sectors and also to expand into other sectors such as mineral beneficiation, healthcare, pharmaceuticals, and infrastructure development. South Africa and Tanzania are both state parties to the SADC Free Trade Agreement, which governs trade relations between our two nations or countries. It is crucial that we leverage the SADC Free Trade Agreement to increase mutually beneficial trade flows. To achieve this goal, we need deeper and more meaningful dialogue between our respective private sectors. We have convened this business forum with a view of encouraging the private sector to make practical suggestions about, if you like, the basket of products that should be targeted for trade under preferential terms. Now, we see this forum as an ideas bank, where you need, as I'm sure you have done, gleaning from the reports that have been given, have come up with a number of ideas which President Hassan and myself will study very closely after this discussion, because we need to transform the structure of trade relations with each other and with the rest of the world. And you are therefore a very important role player in all this, where you are able to give us your lived experience like the two representatives who represented you all who spoke on the platform here. For example, between 2019 and 2021, South Africa imported $68 million worth of certain specific categories of goods from Tanzania, while it imported $4.8 billion of the same set of products from the rest of the world. You can already see that there's misalignment. During the same period, Tanzania imported $1 billion worth of certain significant categories of goods from South Africa, while importing $14 billion of the same set of products from the rest of the world. So what we are doing is to trade with the rest of the world in buying those same significant goods that we can trade with between ourselves. And by so doing, we are creating jobs in the rest of the world and not between our two nations. That is misalignment, and we therefore need to be much more focused in making sure that this misalignment is gotten rid of. We must therefore make a concerted effort to increase the supply of made in South Africa and made in Tanzania goods into each other's markets. I would like to walk into a supermarket, which unfortunately my handlers prevent me from doing from time to time, because that's something I used to enjoy greatly. Walk into a supermarket and be able to see goods from Tanzania and say to myself, I want goods that are made in Africa, and I specifically want to zero into the wonderful tea made or grown or produced in Tanzania. That is what I want to do. Now, this is what we should be doing. I don't know whether you are allowed, President Hassan, whether they allow you to go around into the market, into a shopping center. I think you're pretty much like me. You're a prisoner. We're both prisoners. But that's precisely what we would like to see in each other's markets, so that we see more and more goods and products that are made here on our continent. Other continents, particularly Europe, for instance, up to 70% of their goods and products are produced within their own environments. And if they have to import, it will be maybe 30%. In our case, it's even worse than the reverse. So this is something that we need to focus on. We as a country have decided, and under the guidance and leadership of Department of Trade and Industry and Competition, on localization. And we said, right, a few years ago that we want locally made goods, so that South Africans should buy locally made goods. And some people started laughing us out of court and saying it's not attainable, it's a pipe dream. And we are driving this policy. We are driving it, and we are beginning to see its good effects. But we want to be able to say the localization drive will also include our region, our SADC region, so that we are able to say we are helping to create jobs in Tanzania. So I, like President Hassan, have looked forward, even as we were at our press conference, even at our official talks, we kept saying we look forward to your deliberations here, so that we can hear the wisdom that will be emanating from your discussions. It is our desire to build on the solid relations between our two countries and to harness our collective capabilities to forge a new deal for the mutual benefit of our people. And forging and relying on our relationship has also meant and also means that we are able to learn from each other. We as South Africans, and we found this out very clearly during our official talks, were able to learn from what Tanzania is doing. And similarly, Tanzania can learn from us. I want to tell you about what could have been an embarrassing moment for us as South Africans during our official talks. Suddenly, the lights went out. The lights just went out. And I quietly turned to President Hassan. I said, we have load shedding in our country. And she, in a very gentle way, apart from the fact that she's a woman, she's got a very gentle disposition. She says, no, President, don't worry. We also experience the same. Don't worry, you are not the only ones who do this, who go through this. So we learn from each other. And one of the issues or questions that was raised at the press conference is now that we're having challenges with our own energy generation, are we going to be able to buy energy from Tanzania? I said, that is one of the issues that are raised with the president in our discussions. That yes, in our tete-a-tete, I said, we would like, if you have surplus power, but we should buy some surplus power from you. Because that's precisely what we have decided to do to address our current energy challenges. And these are energy challenges that will pass, because we've embarked on a process that is focused on addressing these challenges. Last year in July, I announced an energy action plan which is aimed at reducing load shedding in our country, giving attention to our installed energy fleet. We've got installed 44,000 megawatts of energy, but over time, the maintenance thereof has flagged down, and we are now paying attention to this. But at the same time, we are increasing our energy generation through renewable energy and making sure that we boost our energy generation. So the load shedding we're going through now is a passing phase. A few weeks ago, we declared this moment that we are in as a disaster, state of disaster. And to this end, I appointed a Minister of Electricity who is focusing on just making sure that we navigate our way out of the load shedding that we are going through. But I got comforting words from my sister, President Hassan, when he said, President, yes, you are going through a challenging period. You will get out of it. And we will get out of it because we are determined and we are focused and we are success-driven people. As a nation, we are proud to be associated with Tanzania, which is also a success-driven nation whose economy is growing by leaps and bounds. And when I hear that, my heart is filled with joy that we have a sister country that is surging ahead with us, and having supported us during our struggle, we will continue supporting each other as we search forward for economic growth and progress so that the peoples of Tanzania and South Africa can have a better life. Thank you for being here, and thank you for the ideas that you put forward. Thank you.
I'd like to thank His Excellency President Ramaphosa for those remarks. Honorable members who are here from Cabinet, business leaders who are here, it's really my pleasure now to invite Her Excellency to address us. Honorable Excellency, I should say, Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan was born in a very beautiful part of Africa, in Zanzibar. And it is one that I think many South Africans will be visiting after your address, Your Excellency. Please, if we can all welcome the first female president of the Vice Chairperson of the Constituent Assembly tasked with drafting the new Constitution in 2022, one of the 100 most influential people in the world according to Time magazine, and someone who's driven the COVID program and infrastructure in Tanzania. Excellency, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Minister. You're celebrating, but not without challenges. Facing a lot of challenges. But it's being done. Your Excellency, my brother Cyril Ramaphosa, President of the Republic of South Africa, Honorable Ephraim Patel, Minister for Trade, Industry and Competition from the Republic of South Africa, Honorable Aisha Tukijaji, Minister for Trade from my place, Honorable Ministers and Deputy Ministers from South Africa and Tanzania, Permanent Secretaries here present, business leaders, heads of government institutions and members of the private sector, development partners, hope you're here with us, members of the press, invited guests. It's still afternoon. So good afternoon. I'm delighted and honored to participate in this Tanzania-South Africa Business and Investment Forum as part of the various activities undertaken during my state visit in this great country. This morning, among other activities, I had the opportunity to participate in the second session of the Binational Commission between Tanzania and South Africa that I co-chaired with my gracious host and my dear brother, His Excellency Cyril Ramaphosa. The BNC considered different areas of cooperation between our two countries, including the area of trade and investment, which is a grand agenda in this meeting. And in this regard, I wish to commend the organizers for their sterling job in preparation of this event, which bears the theme, Forging a New Deal Towards Higher Levels of Trade and Investment between South Africa and Tanzania. And we hope we are going to forge new deals from here. We have seen MOU signed, but I hope still B2B is going to go, the dialogue is going to continue, and we are going to forge the new deals. The theme is pertinent indeed, and the program of the forum provides room for distinguished participants. I've had some of the challenges presented by those two gentlemen who spoke earlier concerning the challenges involved in trading and investing in our two countries. And we too have had that, and we promise we are going to work on them. But let me take you through some of the policy reforms that have been done in Tanzania and that have resulted in positive outcomes. The government of the United Republic of Tanzania is determined and dedicated to consolidating policy and making institutional and regulatory reforms to improve the business environment. Some of the reforms undertaken have improved consistency and predictability of policies, laws, and regulations. They are also intended to enhance transparency and address unnecessary red tape and other related bottlenecks in trade and investment. On the same note, Tanzania has strengthened cooperation frameworks on tax matters, including the avoidance of double taxation, which is a bigger cry on this part of the world, and I promise you will soon sign another MOU on the double taxation between Tanzania and South Africa. Furthermore, we have taken stern measures to improve efficiency in revenue collection and tax administration by enhancing fairness in tax assessment, ensuring timely VAT returns, and digitalization of the tax systems. When I spoke of VAT returns, I knew some of you were saying, Tanzania, you're so bad in VAT returns, but we have corrected that, and now we are returning on time. So, the government has also amended the Tax Revenue Appeals Act, CAP 408 to accommodate alternative dispute resolution mechanism, and hence reducing bureaucracy in addressing tax appeals. Steps have also been taken to strengthen the Tanzania Investment Center and Zanzibar Investment Promotions Authority to effectively and efficiently operate as one-stop center for investment promotion and facilitation. Our distinguished participants, another groundbreaking reform has been the enactment of the new Tanzania Investment Act of 2022 to replace that of 1997, and the new act has introduced a level playing field, shortened time for obtaining investment licenses from 14 days to 7 working days, and granted access to international arbitration for settlement of disputes, either in accordance with Tanzania arbitration laws or the International Center for Settlement of Investment Disputes, or within the framework of any bilateral or multilateral agreement on investment protection agreed to by the government of Tanzania and the government of the investor's country of origin. So we have changed. Before you come to Tanzania, invest your money, and when we do wrong, we take you to the arbitration in our own courts, and we thought that was not correct, and we changed the course. Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, in regards to the rebuilding of the economy, Tanzania continues with the construction of infrastructural and energy flagship projects. As you are aware, we are continuing with construction of the standard gauge railway of about close to 2,000 kilometers from Dar es Salaam to Kigoma. And then we expect the railway will cross over to Burundi, Rwanda, then DRC. But we thought upon completion, the railway is expected to boost intra-regional trade, especially with landlocked neighbors, such as Burundi, the DRC, as I said before, Rwanda and Uganda. So on infrastructural development, we are doing fine. And not only the railway, the roads connecting the neighborhood are also in good conditions. Likewise, Tanzania government is working on increasing power generation, as President Ramaphosa said it rightly. And we thought, or we hope, this power generation is going to contribute significantly to the Southern African power pool, because we have a program in SADC of having the Southern African power pool, whereas all countries in SADC are supposed to generate power, put in a pool, and then we share it. We sell to one another. So my government is doing that and has also improved efficiency and expanded capacity of Dar es Salaam, Tanga, Mtwara, and Zanzibar ports. Tanzania is very much endowed with 4 seaports, and those are Dar es Salaam, Zanzibar, Mtwara, and Tanga. But then with the Lake Victoria and Lake Tanganyika, we do have other ports to connect to the neighboring country. So when you invest in Tanzania, you are sure of the market. And I heard one of my brothers complaining about the market access. But when you are in Tanzania, you get the market, SADC, East African, and African market. So the market access, we have no problem. Dear delegates, the said reforms and measures implemented by the government have yielded positive outcomes. For instance, the total value of registered foreign investments has quadrupled from US $1.1 billion in 2020 to US $4.5 billion in 2022. Liquidity enhancement and prudent monetary policy implementation have resulted in a rebound of annual credit growth. The private sector, credit growth to the private sector to a record of 22.5% in December 2022, compared to 10% in the corresponding period in 2021, and an average of 9.3% over the period of 2015 to 2020. And so the real GDP is now back on the recovery path from a growth of 4.8% in 2020, 4.9% in 2021, an average of 5.2% over the quarter 1, 2, and 3 in 2022. And I've read the World Bank article recently projecting the growth of 6.2% in few years to come, next year and few years to come. So despite continued pressure on food and energy prices, inflation has remained moderate. In 2022, inflation rate averaged 4.3% compared to 3.9% in 2021, which is within the target of 5% in our development vision and far less than East African average of 10%. So we are still doing good. With such growth momentum, Tanzania has become one of the fastest growing economies in sub-Saharan Africa, exceeding the regional average growth of 4.7% 2021 and 3.8% in 2022. These statistics attest to the fact that Tanzania is a bright spot for investment with high rate of return. What are you waiting? Come to Tanzania. What are you waiting? Distinguished delegates, I also wish to inform you that our government is in the process of formulating the coming 25 years vision from 2026 to 2050, in which we envision to transform the current lower middle income country to an upper middle income country. That transformation will certainly require, among others, increased trade and investment. I'm deeply convinced that this forum will serve as an important lever towards that end. At this juncture, let me highlight some investment priority sectors. I've had them being mentioned by the businessmen who spoke earlier, but let me tell you that our government has accorded special attention to agriculture in line with Agenda 1030, which seeks to promote commercial agriculture and increase growth to 10% by 2030. The approach that we have adopted is cluster farming for the youth, which requires significant investment in mechanization, agro-processing, and digital platforms. Some of the targeted crops for the large-scale farming includes sugarcane, wheat, sunflower, maize, and horticulture. This morning I was talking to my brother, President Ramaphosa. I was telling him, my brother, you're importing rice from Vietnam. Tanzania has got 22 million hectares of land unutilized, and it's the best land for rice growing. So why can't you come down, we work together, produce enough rice and irrigation schemes, and you save your money, save your money, dollar, going to Vietnam, instead you buy from Tanzania, or you harvest from Tanzania to South Africa. So I invite the business community to come down and work with us. We do have the cluster farming for youth. It's a way to create employment, but they lack capital, they lack mechanization, they lack technology. So if the private sector is ready to work with them, we are ready to welcome the private sector, work with these youth to promote food security in our region. Another present as an important field of investment, especially with the growing number of tourists. There's a need for expansion of infrastructure. We managed to sell the tourism attractions of our country. We had a film called The Royal Tour, which was shown throughout the world, and we are now receiving big numbers of tourists, but surely we are lacking some of the infrastructure, such as high-end hotels, transport, sport arenas, and other recreational facilities. So, welcome the business community from South Africa, working together with your partners in Tanzania, investing in this area as well. Another area that may be of interest to some of you relates to energy sector, of which I said this is a priority because we have to improve the Southern African power pool. And fortunately, Tanzania, we are endowed with multiple sources of renewables and other forms of clean energy through solar, wind, thermal, hydro, differently. So power generation is another area of investment. Dear delegates, as you are all aware, ICT and digital transformation are equally key drivers of rapid development. Our national ICT policy advocates for investment in digital infrastructure to enhance skills and capitalize on cutting-edge digital innovations such as robotic engineering, artificial intelligence, and others. South Africa is more advanced in terms of science and technology. We welcome all potential investors to join us in this endeavor. As I said, it's a market. When you invest in Tanzania, the market is guaranteed. Lastly, as I conclude, I wish to reiterate my firm belief that this business forum will serve as a catalyst for increased trade and investment, cooperation between our brotherly nations, and a venue to build confidence and trust. I underline a venue to build confidence and trust. We have immense potentials to explore. So explore them for the social, economic betterment of our nations. I thank you for your kind attention. Thank you very much.
I'd like to sincerely thank Her Excellency Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan for that address. Before our meeting started with its formal proceedings earlier, the national anthems were played. And there may have been some South African participants who were puzzled at the fact that there were two versions of the South African anthem being played. And I saw they were waiting for the other words to start. Now, the first anthem that was played was, in fact, Mungu Ibariki Africa, the Swahili language version of God Bless Africa. And it's to the same tune as our anthem, Nkosi Sikelel' Afrika. And it's a demonstration of that very deep bonds of solidarity between the two countries. And today is about matching that bonds of solidarity with a depth of two-way investment and two-way trade that will enable us to create more jobs in Tanzania and South Africa and more economic opportunity for our people. Ladies and gentlemen, today's events have reaffirmed and refreshed the warmth of our relationship and the keenness and appetite to do more. I wish to thank the two people who've made it possible, the two presidents who with their vision have provided the space for the business community and government officials to do what we need to do. I'd like to thank the two members of Cabinet, the business associations and the private sector firms who are represented here today, and the directors general and officials of the DTIC, of DIRCO, and of the presidency, and the officials from the different departments, the permanent secretaries from Tanzania. Asante. For the Tanzanian business delegates, we hope you'll stay an extra few days now that you've swapped business cards, and you'll take out your credit cards and enjoy the beauty of another part of Africa. Listen to our music, taste South African food, and visit some great places in our country. And we look forward to South African business people doing the same when they travel to Tanzania. I now wish to request that you join us in thanking the presidents and provide the two presidents an opportunity to depart and for delegates to remain in the room while their excellencies take their leave. Thank you very much.